one of the most popular requests here at School of Cards is turn me into a professional poker player. I get a lot of calls from serious amateurs who want to now take it to a professional level, and they want to start, they want to quit their job and play poker professionally. So we came up with a 10-part video series, which we'll be introducing one video per week that deals with, this topic. And we have a lot of different modules that are very good. We talk about bankroll management in one, and we talk about the math behind bankroll management, how to know exactly how much you need for which level in poker. And we get into a little bit more psychological discussions and a lot of discussions in theory about managing stress levels and how to cope with with the job that has such high variance, where you're not necessarily earning a steady income every week, but your income's fluctuating greatly. How to deal with that. But the first thing I really want to talk about today is the misconception of what a professional poker player is. So I get this feeling that people think that professional poker players are players that are just so amazing at poker. They sit down at any table they want and they just start making money. And that's really, really not what it is. I relate professional poker players to more like hunters. Professional poker players are looking for players who are weaker than them, who they can exploit. And that's what really being a professional poker player is all about. Like I'd once sat down with I met a friend of mine had a friend, one of those stories. A friend had a friend who told me that her boyfriend was a professional poker player. So I'm always skeptical when I hear that. I'm not really 100% sure. I'm talking to him. He semi-seen what he knew what he was talking about, but something was off. I didn't buy it. I didn't know how this guy could turn out profits consistently. His knowledge of the game wasn't great. So we were at the Borgata at Atlantic City, and I said, I was talking about table selection, and he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, I'm walking around." He says, "Well, why are you walking around?" I said, "I'm trying to find the softest table." He says, "Why would you do that?" He's like, "I just sit down anywhere." And just then, right then, I knew he couldn't be at a professional level. That's just something that you don't do. I mean, and if you do it, maybe you'll be professional for like 6 or 7 months, but eventually it'll catch up to you. You don't just sit down at any given table and play. You carefully look for a table that is optimal for you. So being a professional poker player I really think the great analogy is like a hunter. So we exploit our edge whenever possible, but we're looking for situations where we have an edge. There's an old saying that, the 7th worst poker player in the entire world can make money if they find 6 poker players that are worse than them. The 6 poker players that are worse than them. Right, so it's the same principle. I don't want to sit down at a table with Phil Ivey and Phil Hellmuth and Phil Gordon, all the Phils, some of the top poker players in the world. I want to sit down on a table with people that just want to basically give me their money, and it's that easy. And it's easy to become a professional poker player these days, not because it's easy to learn, but just because it's easy. Just because the fields are so easy, that there's so many players that are just terrible. The fields are disgusting. You go to Atlantic City any Friday, Saturday night, the stuff that you see go down on a poker table is disgusting. It's very, very easy to make money. Very, very easy. The hard part about being a professional poker player is the psychological aspect of dealing with bankroll management and dealing with the variance and that aspect. I don't think the skill is the hardest thing anymore. It's having the personality traits, having the dedication, the patience, and the discipline to know when to sit down, to know when to get up, to know when to leave, to know when to fold a hand. And that is what really separates a professional player from the amateur. So I just wanted to give an introduction to this little video series. Our next video, we're going to discuss bankroll management. I'm going to give you exactly the tools to figure out exactly how much you need to play at what level. I know bankroll management is probably single-handedly the most important thing to a professional poker player. I don't think there's anything else that's more important than bankroll management. If you do not let me tell you this. This maxim. There's not many maxims in poker, but this is one. If you do not practice proper bankroll management, you'll go broke. It's as simple as that. There's no way you can beat that. If you do not practice simple bankroll management, you will eventually go broke. I promise you that. I've seen it happen over and over and over again. So we're going to try to make sure that that doesn't happen for you. All right. So you can look for our next video probably next week. All right.